Jan Loki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to start my final speech on this bill tonight by acknowledging fourth respondent Lawrence Carter and first respondent Susan Atkinson, who have both died in the process of this coming to Parliament. And I want also to acknowledge those of you out there who have been fighting for your family and your home, and also for the rights of so many others in this country. Your work is something that we should respect, and I share my colleague Catherine Delahunty's, sense of disappointment and shame in our system for not having acknowledged your need and acknowledged your rights under the law that made you have to go through the Human Rights Tribunal, the High Court, and then the Court of Appeal, to have it acknowledged that actually you had the right. You had the right in our law to be paid and acknowledged for the caring work that you are doing that is saving all of us in our society and is benefiting every one of us. And I want to deeply acknowledge you here tonight in the face of this terrible bill that is actually undermining that right that was existing in law. This government has stood up and told us that we should be proud of this, that we're the third country in the world to do this. Actually, no. Our law, our courts told us we were doing that. Our law gave that right. Our policy was out of step with the law because that right existed in the law, and the legislation that is in front of this House tonight repeals those rights. There is nothing to be proud of in this piece of legislation. This bill, in its intent, confirms that people do not generally and will not be paid to provide health services and disability support to their family. That is what this bill does. And further, it goes on to say that the families who have lodged complaints to the Human Rights Tribunal already, who have those cases lodged with the Human Rights Tribunal, can now only get an acknowledgement. The only remedy that they will be entitled to the discrimination they have experienced through policy is a declaration that the policy is inconsistent with the BORA. That's extraordinary. And that the families that have not taken a case are now no longer able to take a case. That basically we are saying there is no right of redress in this country for this discrimination. And that is a shameful, shameful act for the people who are making so much difference, and for the people living with the disabilities who are fighting such barriers to get their ability to participate in this society. And that requires care for some people. And choice over that core, that right, over that care of who's going to provide that care is surely a fundamental right. I've heard from people over Facebook in response to this act who are with disabilities who are feeling devastated by this, who are feeling as if they're losing hope because they had the convention. We made a sense of progress as a country, of a commitment to human rights for people with disabilities. And we now have a disability commissioner. And now along comes this piece of legislation that undermines that very right, that tells them that actually our government thinks their current accounts or their books matter more than their ability. And the government says this is too expensive. Well, those families can't afford this. We as a country can. Those families cannot afford to carry this burden any longer, and they should not have to. We as a country, it takes us nothing to do it.
Louise Upston.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm really pleased actually to be the final speaker in the third reading of the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Amendment Bill because